What is up, homies? It's been a little bit of a hiatus. Uh, Kind of weird sitting up in the driver's seat again there, Webs. Kind of weird, kind of weird. But it is what it
Yeah.
is. It is Sunday. It's the last Monday Eve of the school year. If you're in the Clark County School District, the last Monday Eve, Holmes.
Congratulations, my friend. You've made it.
Indeed. And then next Monday I start, or next Tuesday I start another week of summer school. So that should be also interesting. Indeed, indeed,
I'm like, why is my lighting so dark?
indeed, indeed.
How about that? How about now? Okay. That's better.
We got some like looking ahead type stuff. Hopefully, some things are gonna whether you're a teacher, you're a parent, you're somebody who is involved with education or whatever. The idea of branding is kind of an important thing. I want to kind of spend some time to look at that because it's and we kind of talked pre-show Webs a little bit about how it might seem intimidating, but perhaps it isn't as intimidating as people make it out to be. And we're gonna talk first with Webbs a little bit about her. Her she has a company outside of the Hoodlums and what the genesis of that idea was and all that kind of stuff and kind of that journey and why her company is called what it's called, et cetera, et cetera. So let's get down to business. We got 58 minutes to make it do what it do. So Webs on the Webs is your hustle, right?
It
And
is.
why is it called Webs on the Web? Like, kind of walk us through why that is the case, where that came from. Why is it not StephanieWeber.com? Like, what was the idea behind that?
Yeah. So, little bit of backstory. I had Webs on the Webs as a website for a little while, but then just before the pandemic hit the United States last year, I had quit my job. And through a series of fortunate events, I found myself needing to form a company. And like I said, I had decided on just the website to host a blog a little bit before. And so I was like, oh, I'm just gonna take that idea and make that my company name. And part of it is obvious. My last name is Weber, and gosh, I think you were the one who started calling me Webs.
And I started calling you Webs without your permission too. It was just like hey Webs, what's good? I didn't ask if that was like a thing or anything. It was interesting.
Yeah, and then when I was on my first job after I switched careers and I was in tech, my very first project there were three other Stephanies. And so I would hear the name Stephanie, and I'd turn every time. And like 90% of the time it wasn't for me, but it got super annoying. So I just straight up said to my team, I was like, just call me Webs from here on out. Like that way I don't ever wonder if I hear the name Stephanie, just everyone will call me Webs. And then when I moved to my next project, I was like, what if this becomes my whole identity? Like I'll just always be Webs. And the odds of running into another Webs are probably not great. So it'll be a unique name and I don't have to worry about it. I've recently started thinking about using it also for like my coffee orders and stuff because I ordered food the other day. And when I went to pick it up, twice this happened this week. When I went to pick it up, they were like, oh, I thought you said Bethany. Like, I think I should just go to Webs. But anyway, so my last name is Weber and you started calling me Webs. And then I started using it in a professional space. And I started thinking about, I worked with someone who went by the name Storm. And I was like, if Storm can go by Storm, why could I not go by Webs? Because I had this idea in my head that doing that was somehow unprofessional. Like we've had conversations about what is and is not professional and who gets to determine that, etc. But I was like, I feel like if I fake it till I make it, and if I believe it's professional and I act like it's professional and I expect that it's professional, then it's professional. And so I just started saying, hey, just call me Webs. It's easier. Just call me Webs, 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 Webs. And so it stuck. And since my kind of, even when I was a teacher, I'd always been very tech forward and we call it the interwebs. It made sense that my website was Webs on the Webs. and it was catchy and it was easy and it couldn't be misspelled and it couldn't be misinterpreted. And so that's where the name came from. And then once I started a company off of it and had that whole name, which by the way, the anniversary of Webs on the Webs is coming up here at the end of June on my mom's birthday. Then it was like, okay, now I need a logo, because if I'm going to be a business, I need to have a logo. So that was the next step, was taking my idea of Webs on the Webs and distilling it into an image that I could use as an icon and as a logo. And now I use it when I create content that I use at work. I always brand it. I'm a little mad because I bought those 72 coffee mugs and didn't put my brand name on them, but hey, what are you going to do? But yeah, so that's where my business name comes from.
Interesting. How did you make your logo? Because you revealed this before we got on the air.
So I used to be hardcore into Illustrator, but I haven't used it in a little while. And I didn't particularly want to like invest in refreshing those skills. I also didn't feel like outsourcing it. So I went to one of our favorite tools, Keynote. And I was like, I had this idea in my head that I wanted something that was like, I liked the spider web idea because I had started to use the spider web icon here and there for different things. So I liked this idea of a spider web, but then I also wanted something with a bit of structure, because the thing that I do is like security. I do like when I'm thinking about the services that Webs on the Webs offers, it's like infrastructure work. So I wanted something that kind of exuded stability, but also seemed edgy and like kind of tech forward, because also that's what I do. So I made the whole thing in Keynote. Also, I like hexagons, so I wanted to somehow integrate hexagons. So my logo is oh, do you have a picture of my logo? Is it on my website? I think it's on my website.
It is on your website. I'm gonna share
Yeah.
it very quickly.
Okay. So yeah, if you go to like there you go. And actually that's a whole thing about marketing. So yeah, I just did a bunch of hexagons and repeated the hexagons in different colors. That's my chosen color scheme. It has been for a little while. I like the gray and pink. And then I liked the dots because I did a quick search on like infrastructure in general. And the thing for technology and infrastructure was a lot of dots and lines connected. So I was like, okay, if this is what people feel it like to them triggers in their brain, technology and infrastructure and stability. And also I didn't want to do a lock because I feel like everybody in security does a lock of some kind. But I feel like this image kind of exuded the same idea. So it's just a bunch of hexagons layered on top of each other with lines with dot that end in dots at each of the points of the hexagons. And then the W, I just went looking for a font that seemed to fit kind of that.
Is that our canine friend, Mr.
It
Kofax?
is. He's very itchy. He's due for a grooming appointment on Tuesday.
Indeed.
But anyway, so yeah, so I designed the whole thing in Keynote, and then I just exported it and changed all the sizes and saved a whole folder of different sizes, like favicon size and super huge, and yeah. And I also wanted it to be like symmetrical and square. So I did like a version of it that's on a gray background. I did a version of it that's on a transparent background, and so I can use it in a bunch of different places. And that's how I just made it on Keynote, and it's like on my credit card and stuff now. Like it's everywhere.
Indeed. So it doesn't have to be super complex. It just has to have like I'm repping tonight my cousin's clothing company. And again, if you look at the logo, it is a red oval with 0106 on it. That is the logo. That is it. That is the branding. Big shouts to my homie.
Look at Nike. Nike is just a swoop. But big shouts. Go ahead. Sorry.
If you go to Vox and look up logos on Vox, either Vox.com or Vox on their YouTube, they'll tell you the story of Nike's logo. Really, really interesting. The lady who came up with it was just like playing around. And they paid her like, I want to say it's like $25 initially, end up giving her stock and stuff later on, but she didn't. I mean, like they were like, hey, just give us that. So it became the swoosh afterward. When they purchased it, it was not the swoosh. It was just this thing. And so that's pretty cool.
That's an important point, I think, too, is iterate, because our original logo for the Intelligent Hoodlums was not the one you see now. It was, maybe if you go to our YouTube site, you might still see it there, but I feel like I changed that like a year or so ago.
Mm.
Our original logo was, it was fine, but we iterated on it.
Oh, indeed. No, it wasn't fine. I didn't like it, but it was there and it served its purpose.
Mhm.
Now, kind of. I mean, just starting to think about as a teacher, what are the things you like to do? Does your name kind of like Weber's? Does it kind of already encourage you down a certain creative path? Do they call you Mr. S or Miss W or something like that? And you can integrate that in there. Does your name mean something in another language? Stuff like that. Go ahead, Webs.
When I interviewed for a job just after teaching, one of the questions they asked me was describe your personal brand. So it's not just something that is classroom useful. It's a question that employers are thinking about. Like, do you know how to brand yourself? Do you know? And if you do have a pervasive brand, you kind of develop a reputation around it, right? You stick in people's heads, because after I was at ThoughtWorks for a little while, people started saying, "Oh, Webs, I've heard of you." Because how many Webses are there in the company? Just the one.
Indeed. But also, like, if we're supposed to, and this is where it comes all the way back down to Schlechte, if we're talking about school mirroring the real world, and we're saying that real world, once, what is your personal brand? How do you brand yourself? You have social media, you have all these things like that. For us as educators not to be integrating that into the daily life of a student, role modeling it as an educator, and then the reason why we're going to start with teachers and on Thursday we'll go with students is this is something that needs to be role modeled to your students as this is Mr. Lang's brand. You see my logo on all my stuff. You are also going to have a brand. I'm going to see your logo on all your stuff. Your name is cool, but your logo is far more powerful in terms of a visual reminder of what I stand for. This is what it looks like. I've got a bear on there because I'm strong and I'm hardy. I've got rainbows because I have this creative personality. Whatever it is, that's what story you need to be able to tell potential employer or me as your instructor. So we're going to look at teaching first because the Canvas platform gives you an ability to brand constantly. Your YouTube channel, Flipgrid, all these things are places where you should have a logo, where you're putting that logo there all the time, where students understand that this is just Mr. Lang. This is Mr. Lang in this mode. This is Virgil happens to be in my brand when I'm in the classroom. And when they see that Virgil, that steampunk logo there, they know that we're doing some interesting things, right? So we want that same idea to be pervasive in all the classrooms because we want our students to have an opportunity to, again, see this is a real world skill. This is not play. This is not make believe. This is not, I'm never going to use this skill ever. Yep, Webb's just said, they asked me what my personal brand was. And I think
Also,
that's the important thing. Go ahead, Webb's.
we've talked about the Octalysis framework before, and one of the key drivers from the Octalysis framework is the ability to customize things and personalize things. What better way to personalize things than to, be able to create your own brand and then brand things with that brand? And not only that, but it can be personal self-discovery. What do I stand for? What do I value? What's important to me? Understanding that this is an outward representation of my reputation. So the things that I do and say impact what people think of when they see that logo on things.
Big facts. I think that's super important to recognize because we spend a lot of time, excuse me, spend a lot of time talking about 21st century skills and very little time actually teaching 21st century skills, right? It's, oh yeah, we want 21st century workers. And you're like, okay, what does that actually mean? We don't actually do that very often. We're still giving people worksheets and asking people to we're giving people worksheets, we're asking people to write papers, we're asking for 5 paragraph essays, things that in the grand scheme of things, when you're talking about people doing actual work, even if you're talking about in the realm of teacherdom, just our lives, I am very rarely called on to write a page of anything much less 5 paragraphs on a sheet of paper. I'm very rarely asked to um, go through and waste my time with a worksheet of some sort. It is usually the worksheets in my daily life tend to be lesson plans. So some kind of uh, expository document that would walk someone through what what I'm doing on a daily basis, rather than just a random retelling of some event or whatever it may be. Webs.
Yeah, I just posted a blog post on my website about teaching frameworks for developers, because one of the things I've noticed is like when we talk about knowledge transfer, when you're in a meeting, when you're pairing, whatever, those situations benefit from some of the frameworks that as educators we kind of know by heart, right? Like the Hunter lesson plan model or the 5E framework or gradual release model, that kind of thing. And so the one that I just recently did, because it'll be a 3-part series on those 3 frameworks. So if you're a not teacher and you're a developer or professional in another capacity and you're looking for ways to structure your learning, also shout out to my friend Goodness who gave me the idea for the blog posts. Those posts will be on my website. But I was watching a YouTube video of this guy called Alex, the French cooking guy. And he has been doing this sort of doctoral thesis on stir fry and, getting in contact with chefs. And he went down this rabbit hole of trying to find videos on YouTube of professional Chinese chefs doing a technique with a 2-handled wok to be able to do stir fry, and couldn't find anything because YouTube is not allowed in China. And so he found the Chinese version of YouTube and then had to learn Chinese and this whole thing. And basically he goes through the 5E framework as he's doing it. A question that he wants to engage with, then he walks you through as he explores and runs into roadblocks, then he compiles everything together and presents you with what he's learned, and obviously he made a whole YouTube video about it to like present his end result, his end like thesis or whatever. And I thought that was really fascinating because that is an example of 21st century skills in action. Like he had to do all that research, be able to understand the contextual elements of the idea that in China they don't have access to YouTube, and then figuring out how to solve that problem. Like it's called like no, it was called something else. It was like the same word twice, but I can't, with eyes, and I can't remember what the word was. But yeah, so like that's a great example of using 21st century skills to solve a problem. Genuinely. He did not write an essay. He did not fill out a worksheet to solve that problem.
I mean, look at TikTok. I mean, you got 60 seconds to explain some crap to me or keep my attention for 60 seconds, right? And people, even without pedagogical degrees, will walk you through how to do something in 60 seconds or whatever it is. And get far more of a application of school and knowledge than writing a 5-paragraph essay. Because if it takes you 300 pages, so you can explain to me something in 60 seconds rather than 300 pages, the genius is the 60-second person, not the person that took 300 pages to do it. All right. And I always ride with Einstein. If you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it. And that is the hustle with all this stuff, right? And that's why I have been blessed to teach kindergarten most of my career. If you can't explain to a kindergartner, you need to go back to the drawing board, fam. Anyway, so let's just talk a little bit about our second topic here, and that's like why is this a thing that you should be doing, Webs? And you kind of mentioned previous. Hey, this is a job interview question that I was asked point blank. In schools, since you've been on both sides of the equation, why is this something that students and teachers should be aware of and know how to do?
Yeah, I think we touched on some of the reasons already. So one, driving that engagement. We've talked lots about Schlechty's levels of engagement and making sure students are at the highest levels of engagement, and the Octalysis framework and how personalizing and customizing drives up engagement. So we see this all the time when people are willing to like buy extra, like spend money on, special costumes in Animal Crossing and stuff. This exists in like every video game ever. So customization and the ability to personalize things drives engagement. So that's one reason. from a job perspective, it has been an interview question. And I think it gives an opportunity to reflect on who the student or teacher is, what they value, and what most important things they want to convey to their audience. Because I think that's also a really important 21st century skill. That's a conversation my team at work has been having a lot lately is what do we want our audience to take away? What is the most important point from the 10-minute demo or review of our sprint that we are going to give people? You know, what is the important salient point? Like to your point, you know, condensing something is a much more precise and skill that requires practice than just taking 500 pages to explain a thing. So I think there's that as well. There was one other point that we had talked about already. Reflection. And then like notability, just being able to convey who you are as a person in like basically a pitch. You know, in a concise and clear way. I think there's some value to that as well. What would you say? What do you think? Like, what is the value of people learning to brand, like to create a brand, to have a brand for teachers? More, let's focus more, since this episode is more about teachers, like what's the value in teachers doing it, not only from the perspective of the few things that I've mentioned, but like what other things do you think teachers would benefit from it? Because I agree with you. Like I think we don't spend enough time or focus enough energy on figuring ourselves as educators out before we distill that out to our students, and it needs to be modeled.
Being memorable, right? So depending on how good your memory is, like I remember every teacher I had from K-12, every last one of their names, most of their room numbers. But images, for those who are, for us who are able to, who have the ability to see, images stick in the back of your mind, right? And again, when I'm walking down the street and I see a pair of shoes, I look for the logo immediately. What kind of shoes are those? I see the swoosh, those are Nikes. I see the three stripes, those are Adidas. Being a sneakerhead person, that's something that attracts me. You will notice behind me all the hats that are there. The logos are really, when I see a hat, I'm like, that is really slick. That logo, what's on the hat is really attractive to me. It appeals to me. Color scheme, is it, and you'll notice a lot of them, they're not really busy logos. They're 2 letters. They're a little bit of, there might be an image or something, but just something that sticks out in your mind to say, oh my goodness, that's the Kansas City Royals. That's the New Jersey Culture Club. That's the Harlem Renaissance Big Five. So I think being memorable and making sure that if a kid were to see your logo again and later in life, they say, okay, cool, I had positive memories. I remember that project we did. Remember we went to the National Arboretum. That is going to, in my opinion, that sticks in people's minds. Because again, whether you're walking through the store and it's your favorite pasta sauce brand or your favorite designer because you're looking for a new dress or whatever, you're looking for logos to tell you, even if it's and I don't know if I'm assuming that you've done this before and I'm not strange. You ever walk through a store and like you'll look at something like, oh, that's kind of odd looking. And you go and look at the logo and you're like, oh, that's pretty dope. I'm actually going to buy that because I know this designer. And this designer is really good. And despite the fact that I was on the fence about purchasing this thing, now that I know that so-and-so and so-and-so made it, all right, cool. I can at least, when I rock this, people say, hey, that's kind of a weird color. Oh, this is a so-and-so. Oh, okay, that's dope. Because, suddenly it gives you this credibility that you're a discerning shopper as well, right? Again, I'm not a big fan of Kanye West anymore, but his shoes look weird to me. But you will go and have people who swear by the Yeezys, right? They're strange space-looking shoes, but you'll see somebody and be like, instantaneously, you will say, those are Yeezys. That's the new Yeezys right there. The Yeezy slides. It gives you that ability to say, visually, I can go and say there's a quality to that product because that certain person's name is on that product, regardless of, even if it is a quality product, right? Yep. I was watching this medical technology thing, and they were talking about a product that Johnson & Johnson made that cost $25 to bring to market, but $2,000 to use. And so you're like this uber cheap product that they built, that they marked up amazingly and charged, doctors and hospitals to use, just because the brand name on the side said Johnson and Johnson.
Interesting.
So mad interesting. But I mean, it's a deal as well to keep to. It's a way to make yourself stand out, I think, as well, and I think that's also important as educators to feel that as though they're professionals in that sense. We kind of spoke a little bit beforehand about every kid, no matter how old you are, 1600s, 1500s, 14, everyone had a superhero name. I don't care who you are, where you grew up, or whatever. You had a name that you called yourself, or you were referred to in your neighborhood because of some experience you had, or you like to do something, or whatever. And utilizing that as a vehicle for you to build your brand is also cool. Things that you like, fishing, cooking, whatever, and integrating that stuff up. It is not as difficult as we said previously to do. It doesn't take. It could just be words. It doesn't have to be, you know, uh, something very difficult. And we're going to role model that in conjunction to Canvas tonight, because the likelihood that Canvas will be the only way that you do your instruction in terms of the learning management systems is growing by the day. There's certain little things that have been said that it seems as though Google Classroom might not be an option at all. So if you're not on the Canvas hustle, and this is just like a small aside, you don't need to be a master of Canvas to use Canvas. I think that's one of the things that's getting thrown out there, webs, is really kind of dangerous. Learning how to do the mastery paths and this other thing. Nah. What do you do well already? And the question you should ask yourself is, how do I do what I do well already and do it in Canvas? And then learn from that point on, hey, these are some other things that Canvas does allow me to do. Without this kind of extra pressure on yourself. People are tired. The school year, even though it's going to end on Monday, it starts mad early this year, which is, I don't know what the reason
Especially if
why.
you're doing summer school.
But
Yeah.
I don't even understand why we're starting so early. Like, I don't understand
Who
the mad
knows?
ones. So anyway,
I
and
think too, something
go ahead.
worth saying is like part of a lot of it isn't the tool. Like I don't think Canvas itself is really challenging. If you can do modules and pages, that you should be good. Like that's pretty much everything. If you know how to link things, that also is helpful. But keeping it simple, it's more about a shift in strategy and mentality than anything else. Like we were talking about this earlier today about like it's more about thinking in a way that your content that goes into Canvas can be your tier 1 instruction and you can focus on meeting with students who need support.
Big facts.
And stop thinking about it as like, I remember the beginning of last year, it was like, oh, I'm going to put buttons for every single day. Oh my gosh, that's not scalable.
Not scalable, and probably not the best way to do it either. All right. So it is what it is. But we're going to deal with just branding today. And like Web's kind of like Weber to Webs, that was like and I like giving people nicknames for some strange reason. So when I see like nicknameable moments, you're like, all right, cool. Got up. And see, the interesting thing was I didn't know Webs very well when I gave her the Webs moniker. It was kind of just like it was a logical thing, and I assume a lot of things assuming gets you in trouble a lot. But I assumed, hey, this was like a logical that Weber cut down is Webs. Why not? That just made sense. So again, even if you take a situation where you cut your name down, you just use your initials. Do you like fishing? You like cooking? Whatever. And like Webs also mentioned, iteration. Look, it can change. The logo can change. We're just using this for right now. When you like reinvent yourself, just reinvent the logo as well. And you have tools, which we're going to walk through tonight, that are already at your disposal that will allow you to spin up a logo in no time. Zero time. All right. So let's take a look very, very quickly in terms of first Canvas, and then we'll kind of look at the tools. So if we're looking at Canvas, There are a number of ways to brand yourself here. This is just a workroom I just threw together very, very quickly. If you're a K-5 teacher, your workrooms and your base product is going to look a little bit different in a little while. I don't know when exactly that's going to happen, but you'll have the brand new K-5 Canvas situation. If you're middle school and up, yours won't change at all. But there is a place here for settings. And you will notice it says choose image for the course. Now, that choose image for the course, I'm going to do it. Where are my courses at? There it is. I'm going to go to my dashboard. One of the things that I always try to do, if you notice, that's the image for the course. You'll notice my logo is there big as day. So if you have kids who are going to be taking multiple classes, your logo standing out, or that's also something that allowed them to find your class very easy. That's Mr. Lane's class. My logo is there. Mine's also a GIF, so it moves. So the kids have that. Okay, the only one that moves on my page is Mr. Lane's logo. All right, cool. That's Mr. Lane's class. I click it and we do what we need to do. All right, so that's in terms of making your content stand out. That is far cooler, and you'll get a lot more questions with kids like, "Oh my goodness, Mr. Lane, how did you do that?" Okay, cool. You can walk them through it. You're not going to get any questions about if you have a picture of a dog there, like, "Mr. Lane, how did you put the picture of the dog?" Don't nobody care about a picture of the dog. But the fact that this moves in my logo seems to be floating in the middle of the screen. Oh my God, that's amazing. Well, it's not very difficult, kid. I'm going to show you how to do it. All right. So go through and find. See, the only problem with going back here, I got to find this logo, or this course all the way over again. I just made it. Should be the last workroom, the first workroom. How do they do it?
I find that whole like moving logo thing
really stupid.
So mesmerizing.
Oh, what the devil is it?
Was it the one you just created?
Yep.
Do a Command F and just type in the name of the workroom.
What did I call the stupid thing? What did I call it?
Oh my gosh, I don't remember because it was what? Oh yeah.
Anybody who has anyone who has what is the stupid thing? Amazon Prime. The show Hustle is on Amazon Prime. I'm just gonna make another workroom because I don't feel like dealing with this.
I was gonna say it also might be all caps.
That works.
Mickey Bricks Jr.
Mickey Bricks is the show is called Hustle. It's about a bunch of con men. It is a hilarious show. Mickey Bricks is their leader. It's hilarious. Anyway, it's a very good show. It's a great show for like to do work to as well because it's very, the way they con people is like very creative. Anyway, so we have that deal. You, whether you are a teacher or student, everyone in the Clark County School District has the premier version. Has the premium version of Adobe Spark. So if you are a parent and you're watching this, this is another thing to kind of bring to your teachers to their attention. Like, yo, you can do this. All the kids have access to this as well. And you don't need to know how to do all of the things. You just need to know that this is a thing that your kids can log into and do things with. You will see that there is a branded section there. It says branded, meaning I can brand my own content when I need to brand my content right inside this thing. But we're going to go from 0 to hero. So I'm going to go custom, and you can do the custom size there. I can go to social media profiles. So if you really want kids to kind of say, I want your YouTube channel to have some cover art or whatever it is. I just want to pretend that we're posting on social media. You got all that stuff there. I'm going to go to standard and I'm going to go to square just because I like squares.
That's
now I've got my square.
A lot too.
I can resize my square to anything I want if I decide I don't want my square no more. All right. Again, this is like the very, very quick version of this thing. When I do this with students, it's a 2-part situation and I want it done in 20 minutes or less. I don't want a lot of if you want to go and iterate on your logo, you can do that as much as you want, but I want something that you're going to brand your content with in 20 minutes. First,
that's an interesting constraint as well, because then they can't get fixated on I want this exactly this way or that exactly that way. Like that time constraint is like on contest shows where they're like, here's your 10-minute quick fire challenge or whatever.
Yeah, and if you again, you always give them the option. You know how to do it now. You can go home later on and change it if you want. But right now, I just need something that is going to represent you for the class that we have right now. Icon, webs. What is your favorite animal?
Pangolin.
Oh no, I don't
I
know.
want to see if a pangolin comes up. If it doesn't,
Yes, it
then,
does.
oh my god.
So,
Oh, do they have a little curled up pangolin? Ooh, but the one in the middle of the top. No,
one?
do the no up one more. That one.
All right,
Oh my
cool.
god, I love it so much.
So great, you can go and change this to whatever colors you want. I'm gonna use like a light grayish type thing because that looks kind of like Hawaiian, like a island type situation there. Kind
Oh,
of
okay, I
dope.
can see that.
So I'm gonna go and take that and kind of look at that. Cool. Now I really like when you go to the text. The text is already set up. I like the circular text just because I think it's like it gives it kind of a sense of completion. So I'm gonna take that and I'm simply going to, and the other thing to remember, all three of our layers are there. All the layers that I add are there. So if I want to go directly to a layer, I can just take it. I'm going to fit that right over my pangolin there. And we're just going to make up a brand really quickly. Webbs, you got something off the top of your head?
How about pernicious pangolins? Why does this dog cram himself into the most tiny places?
Because that's what dogs do. All right, so cool. Pernicious pangolin. I'm going to move that up just a little bit. Great. Done. Finished. Fine. Done. If a kid can't think of something, it's what's your favorite animal, homie? X. Great. Look for that icon, throw it in there, and then come up with the situation. So it's never I can't think of something. Yeah, everybody has a favorite animal. You got a favorite food, something that you can throw in there very, very quickly. All right.
Cheese, a hot dog, a spider web,
Bada bing.
a book, a pen.
The most important part is this one. All right. We want to keep it as a PNG because we want to have a transparent background. So when we put it on a YouTube channel or whatever, the video will play right on through it. We don't have to worry about anything. If I go and start branding this on the other Adobe Spark products, we're good. This exists. So if I want to go back and put it in as a JPEG or whatever, I can do that as well. But I'm going to keep it as a transparent background right now. So transparent PNG. Make sure you name it something you're not going to forget. Even though I tell kids that all the time, they'll go and just leave it as my post. Well, okay, cool. Well, that's going to be kind of hard to find later on. So I'm going to call it Pernicious Pango and save it. And also, it's there in the bottom. Now, we're going to take that, and the reason why Adobe Spark is such a powerful tool and a tool to utilize with your students, as much as people like Canva and all this other stuff, you can't control, and because the Clark County School District has agreement with Adobe Spark, your kids are essentially safe inside of this environment. They can turn in their Canvas assignments through Adobe Spark, etc. Canva, I've got no way to get into a kid's Canva account. I don't know what their Canva login would be. And Canva had a security issue last year, which I got alerted to, that I've kind of sworn off Canva. But if that's one of your deals, rock and roll, handle Canva. I'm going to throw that in here, and I'm going to go here back to the house. And you're going to see in the left-hand corner where it says brands. This is really cool for kids to do. We did this last school year. Hopefully more teachers do this next school year in terms of making sure their brands are there. And you'll see this is what I walk through all the kids on how to do this. So I have that 75 billion brands here. Create a brand. And you can really give them the opportunity to think about the colors that they like. Are those colors accessible? So talk about accessibility, and do they clash? Secondary, tertiary colors, and primary colors. Get your art teacher involved in terms of, hey, yo, these are the colors that kind of go well with one another. Talk about color theory and things like that. You will notice that it says JPEG and PNG are supported. I like the PNG better because I can do that transparent deal. So I'm at that upload logo, and Pernicious Pango is there. open, and that's going to pop up for me. And you'll see instantaneously it shows me what those look like on my brands. So I get this kind of professional look already. Boom, boom, boom. Hey, I got a brand. Oh my God, I could go and put this on my TikTok if I wanted to, or whatever. All right, picking the colors. You see the hex codes there, so you can use coolers, or Adobe has its own hex code deal. You've got a ton of things that you can go through and look for colors. Again, having that conversation with them about accessibility and make sure that the colors don't clash and whatnot. I'm going to keep it gray because I like gray. Actually, I'm going to go to
You can also add a dropper extension. I think every browser you can add an extension that where you can grab a little dropper, and if you see a color you like on a website, you can use the dropper on it and it'll give you the hex code of that color.
kind of like that purple, just because that's weird. Purple's royal too. Cool. Then they can choose the font that they would like. They've got tons of fonts inside here. They can. I don't know if the school district accounts will allow you to download fonts. I had to look into that. Actually, this is my school district account, so yes, I can add fonts. So I'm gonna just use Futura for right now. All right, great.
Also, as someone who was not super big on fonts and then met Mike and has invested a little bit of time in looking for decent fonts, it's so worth it to invest the time to install fonts either on your system or in whatever tool you're using, because then you can go back to those fonts and you slowly amass this library of fonts that you really like.
And you could kind of like, if you want to emulate certain things. So if you're doing a space thing, using the Star Wars font or a font that emulates Star Wars is kind of cool. Like adding that different flair of creativity is also really dope. So I'm gonna call this brand name Pernicious Pangolin. Create my brand. It does all the hard work for me. All I had to do is come up with the colors and the logo. And now suddenly this can be used on all the products that I build inside Adobe. So one that took us like 10 minutes to deal with, I can change this anytime I would like. I can add more colors if I would like. I can add more fonts if I would like. I can add more logos. So if I decide, again, the second iteration of Pernicious Pangolin has a pangolin with snarling at you or something like that. Great, I can add that on side of there if I would like to. All right, I can change what it looks like on my products and projects. So this is going to be Adobe Spark. Great. Have that light deal there. What do I want? So you can really do this deep dive into the Adobe Spark environment and really customize stuff so kids own their work rather than I'm turning something in. Nope, this is my brand and I want my brand to represent me correctly. And also making sure kids don't write just their name on their product. They put their logo on their product as well. I think it's really, really super cool. That's another reason why downloading that, and whether you use it in Google Docs or Google Slides or whatever, making sure that they can put their logo on a product is very, very important in my opinion. What say you, Webbs?
Yeah, I think too. I'd be interested if you could like study side by side the differences between students who put a logo on their work and students who just put their name on their work, and if there's any like higher in like, do kids who put logos on their work, are they more likely to include it and remember to include it versus just writing your name? I'd also be interested to see the quality of the work and how that comes out, because I wonder if students take a bit more thought and pride in their work if they're adding a logo to it versus their name.
Indeed. And you as teacher person, now when you create inside of Adobe Spark, you got your logo already built inside there, whatnot. So we've got the logo done. Now, in terms of that, again, going to Canvas and looking at that settings and saying, I want an image here for my course that represents me. That's not, the Bitmoji thing is kind of trite in my opinion, but there are people who love the Bitmoji thing. That's cool. But like something that's even more like, one of the things I like people not to know is how I did something. I want them to have to ask, that's a question that's an icebreaker. How did you do that? That's a cool question. Bitmojis, kids have seen Bitmojis enough that they're like, I know exactly what that is. That's not fun to me. That is a question to me that if a kid can duplicate it easily, then like, what am I here for? I want to show you what I did was really easy, but I want that question to be on the table. Like, oh my God, that was really cool, Mr. Lane. Show me how to do that. All right, this is how we did it, Bob. So We've got that deal there. I'm going to show you a tool that perhaps you're not familiar with that I am super enamored with all of the time, and that is Crello. And Crello is a tool that will allow you to design the same deal. It's kind of the same situation here. Gives you that design, but it gives you the ability to do some really sexy stuff without having to have a lot of technical ability. And Crello I use all the time for graphics for my courses, for just to add a little bit of like, again, that awe. You want to be David Copperfield. Go ahead, Webbs.
What would make you choose Crello over Spark in a given situation?
So Crello gives me far more. If you look here for just my designs, you'll see that this is built for marketers. This isn't built for school. And this is why I like it, because this is a professional tool that someone said, hey, there is a part of the market that needs to be corrected here in terms of just people having access to really cool, quick marketing tools. Let me step into that kind of what we were talking about earlier at our business meeting. All right. This makes me feel like a professional. Adobe Spark does in a sense as well, but this gives me far more options. Gives me the ability to kick things out of GIFs as well, which Adobe Spark does not give me the ability to do. It gives me the ability to say, if I want to mimic a actual social media format exactly, this gives me the ability to do that a lot easier than Adobe Spark would.
I want to point out the fact that you don't use one exclusively over the other, but that they are tools for different situations and needs and wants.
Yeah,
Because I feel like sometimes there's this idea that like, oh, you have to pick even the Canva versus Spark, right? Like if Canva really offers you something that you find useful and helpful and that Adobe Spark doesn't offer, you can use both tools. Like there's no rule that says you can't use both tools.
And as you're going to see, I'm going to splice what I made in Adobe Spark into into Crello. So Adobe Spark lets me make the logo very, very easily. Crello has a logo maker that I don't particularly care for. I'm going to take Adobe Spark, throw it in Crello just for my own branding purposes, but you could use, there's tons of tools out there right now that allow you to build logos that are very simplistic and very, very quick. So, again, cover letters, online ads, which I use the ads a lot of time in order to like advertise for students that the next module is coming up and stuff. The marketing stuff is all there. All that's wonderful stuff. Anyway, I'm going to go to video and animation, and you're going to see that I can make them full screen. I can make an Instagram post, and these are all animated. And Adobe Spark can't do that. All right. TikTok video, I already have a template for TikTok video. So if I want to make a TikTok video inside here, I can add the templates already. But I'm going to go and take, instead of that, I'm going to go right to my square post. This will pop up. I've got tons of templates that are already built that if I see one, I'm actually going to just choose education because there is education stuff in here. Cool. So this is one that I've used before. This dude is sitting there typing at his computer or on his device. Bada bing, very simple. I'm going to get rid of that. Come on. I got it.
I think it's, trying to tutorial you.
Yeah, and I despise the tutorial. Come on, give me my stuff.
Is it a layer thing?
Yeah, it might be. No, it's not a layer thing. That should be.
Oh, I had a problem earlier where what were we doing? Oh, I was screen sharing, and for some reason it wouldn't let me click into the thing, and I had to like end my screen sharing and then come back to it because it wouldn't let me do my screen sharing. Technology is weird sometimes.
So what we're gonna do is just like, hey, forget this. I don't really care. I just want to show you proof of concept that I can take this as a GIF. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to my files. All right, cool. And you'll see that I've got our logo and everything up there. Got it. I know. I'm gonna upload my video. Pernicious Pango. Bada bing. It's gonna upload here in just a second. I'm on Pernicious Pango. There we go. Pernicious Pango is there. Bada bing. What I do is take that. I don't care about removing the background right now. It's being kind of silly. Okay, really, really, guys, really. All right, so this is what we're gonna do. Make sure that's totally away. There we go. Now I can take that and put it where I want. And it stops being stupid, then I'll go ahead and change that name to Pernicious Pangolin, and I'll change that or whatever. And so the reason why I like this a lot better is, first of all, that guy moves, and movement is really cool. So it looks like, oh, cool. Mr. Lang is just, I didn't program that. I haven't done anything to that thing. That's already preloaded or whatever. Hit the download button. When I hit that download button, you're going to see that I can make it a GIF, which I cannot do inside of Adobe Spark. This is the reason why I tend to, when I want to make things move, I go to Crello and make things move. All right, great. I can still make it transparent. I can make it a PDF. I can make it, a JPEG or whatever. I can make it a full-fledged movie if I want to. But the gift is what I want to put for my class as my class. So I'm going to hit that download button. It works pretty well, pretty fast. Great.
I was just talking to a friend about this, about how like GIFs are becoming such a big medium of human connection with teams that work remotely, because you convey so much in a GIF. Like I've always said before, a picture's worth 1,000 words, a movie's worth 1,000,000, and a GIF is basically a tiny movie. And GIFs require so much context and like social understanding that they can really be a way of bonding. Like my team and I use them all the time.
Big facts.
That and hashtags. Hashtag thanks Microsoft. Shout out to my team that I work with during the day, because they're amazing.
There's my deal. Choose image. Cool. I'm going to show that in Finder very quickly.
I feel like just the fact that you can set your image as a GIF is like a big deal that people may not have known about.
I mean, movement draws attention. If movement draws attention, then I want to use movement so the kids pay attention to the deal. Now, generally what I do is the Facebook dimensions or the YouTube art dimensions, but you'll see now that that's there and it's moving, right? You can see my man moving there. All right, great, fine, dandy, awesome. And I don't know if it's published, it's going to show me that deal. It's not going to show me that at all. So it's all good. But if I do my homepage, I'm going to just use the syllabus for right now. All right, cool. I'm going to edit the syllabus. Inside of here, I can do the exact same thing. So I'm going to click that. It's still, the cool thing about GIFs is it's still an image, or it's still recognized as an image by the device. So if I click that and I go to Pernicious logo GIF, bada bing. Yeah.
Is that your Xbox?
Yeah. Telling me it's going to turn off. Come
Hey.
on.
Hey, you should play with me. Hey.
You've got an Xbox?
You want to play some? No, I don't. I just know the sound.
I mean, dude, you got to get your Xbox.
I have a Switch.
Oh, because you play Animal Crossing. Indeed.
I haven't played Animal Crossing in a while, but I just downloaded a bunch of Lego games because I freaking love the Lego games. And I play a lot of Just Dance. And I got Ring Fit, and I've played it a little bit, but not a whole lot. Because it's kind of harassy about, like, you should play me. You should play me. Hey, why are you playing me every day? I don't need your harassment, Ring Fit.
So I'm just going to say home. This is just proof of concept. For some reason, that's not working.
Which, by the way, I don't know that we've ever talked about that. For audience who doesn't understand or has never heard the term, I shouldn't say doesn't understand, hasn't heard the term proof of concept. It's basically like a super rough, I'm just showing you connecting point A to point B. It's not pretty. It's not refined. It's just like, hey, look, this thing works. And it works the way we would expect it to. It's not resized. It's not the right format, but like, ta-da, you can see the movement. You can see the logo.
So, and that's just, again, taking, so one of the other interesting things about, that you should perhaps think about as you're dealing with a new tool is, what are your needs, right? So and that's one of the things I think Webs gets lost in this Canvas conversation. I want my logo to move. Okay, cool. That's a need or a desire of my. I'm gonna go and find a tool that'll allow that to happen. All right, rather than having a situation again. You don't have to have a logo that moves. Pernicious pangolin is right there. It's not moving at all. Here's the if I want to have an added piece of spice there that says, "Oh my goodness!" Again, if you want that David Copperfield, he just saw the woman in half. How did he do that moment? Adding the gifts and stuff like that are really cool. But if you just like, look, I'm good on just having my logo there, that is also super cool. Now, why is the logo thing even more kind of important as an instructor? So, if we're dealing with, like, say, Flipgrid, right? I'll create a topic very quickly. Actually, I'm not even going to do that. All right. I'm somebody who's going to make instructional videos for my students. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to go to the options there, right? When I go to the options, I don't want to upload clips. I'm going to go to effects because they changed it. Cool. See what it says photo right there? I'm going to click the photos. Custom sticker. What is my custom sticker going to be? It's going to be my logo. And I'm going to move that wherever I want. You may want to make it darker or lighter or whatever so it stands out a little bit. But then as I'm recording my stuff, my logo is right there. Every time I do my videos, I'm branding myself as the Pernicious Pangolin. Every time. So it is super important, in my opinion, to have that branding thing. When a kid sees your video, oh my goodness, it's Pernicious Pangolin time. Yes. We're going to learn some cool stuff, right? And it just gives you that little flavor. Your kids can do that exact same thing. We'll talk about that on Thursday. Making sure they're uploading their logo there, sitting on the side. They're good to go. That's important. All right. Again, we talked a little bit about Canva. Canva does have a logo creator deal there. Don't sign me in, losers. They do have a logo section there that you can play around with. But that anytime you have an opportunity to brand yourself in front of your students, in my opinion, you utilize that, because the other thing, Webs, is taking, not only making videos and products for your students, but for the world, and saying, hey, I'm really cool. I've got this great unit, module, or whatever that I want to make sure that everyone has access to. But I want you to remember that I'm the one that did that, which I don't think a lot of teachers give themselves enough credit for, in terms of like, dude, you do dope stuff. I'm just going to give it away for free. Nah, fam, I'm not just going to give it away for free. At the very least, I'm going to put my brand on there, my name on it, so that you know where to come and get more dope stuff. Like, the giveaway stuff for free is overrated, fam. Definitely. Like, I'm all for, we do, we personally, and a lot of people that do a lot of stuff like this, a lot of stuff is totally free. Totally got you. Fine. But they don't pay us enough as teachers for us to be just giving away the barn, Holmes.
I don't know any professional in any other like profession that would give their work and labor away for free. In fact, there's a movement, like, even within, like, sometimes what'll happen is in tech, they'll have people do like coding challenges. And if the coding challenges are like, build me this app, they'll like take somebody's coding challenge and just like run with it and charge people for it and never hire that person. Or like this is really common with designers. They'll have them, oh, design this logo for me, design this blah, 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 as your challenge to get a job. And then they'll just take that work, steal it, and never pay the person for it, which is totally unacceptable. Like, free internships are nonsense and they are not appropriate.
150% agree. This is why every teacher should have their own brand, your own website that's branded with your name and whatnot. And this is in its infancy, so Webs on the Webs kind of inspired me. I'm not as my situation isn't as mature as Webs on the Webs, but it's getting there. So All Hustle No Recess has been just some silly that I made up years ago. It doesn't mean anything, but it means a lot. So it is coming. It's coming very, very slowly, just because I don't know. I do more hoodlum stuff than I do personal stuff at this point, but it's kind of fun to play around with. And so this is my Webs on the Web side project. it'll eventually get to where there's more content and stuff there.
We've also always talked about doing like a dual things thing where like we have the Hoodlums website and the Hoodlums blog and all that kind of thing, but also like having separate things for, you know, reasons, whatever. I don't know. I think it's interesting to have a joint project and also have other stuff, right? That continues to inform and populate the joint project. I think that's a thing that keeps a joint project healthy is that you're not exclusively dedicated to that joint project and you're continually, and I think the same applies of education and teachers in the classroom. You have to be interested in other things and make those things inform what you do in the classroom to keep things fresh and keep them like maturing and growing. Otherwise you get stagnant.
Facts, big facts, big facts. Any closing thoughts, ideas, anything, Webs?
I think a lot of teachers will be tempted to skip over the teacher part of this. And I think it's super important that you spend the time to really reflect, use it as a reflection point. You know, it's the end of the year. It's fun, for one thing, to just screw around and like test out different fonts and colors and let yourself have some fun and experiment with what you think your logo would look like. Make three and then have your family vote on which ones they like or something. Have your students vote on which ones they like. We're getting to the end of the school year. There's only a couple of days left. And as we all know, we probably really stopped doing things about a week ago. So have your students design their own logos. If they haven't returned their Chromebooks, like have them, you can do Adobe Spark on a Chromebook, have them play around with what would their logo look like. And you don't
Or
have to know the tool. Just put the tool in front of them and they'll figure it out.
the other thing would be like if you've seen that it's kind of been viral a couple times is the illustrator whose kid drew on sheets of paper what like it's these animals would be or monsters and stuff, and the professional illustrator went and actually made them the way that they, or digitally. Even if your kids took sheets of paper and pencils and colors and crayons and said, "Okay, look, I want you to draw your logo," you took that. Even if you just scanned them into your computer, if you looked at, okay, we're going to take this as iteration one, how can we match up shapes on your device in order to give it the curve there, or what? How can we make this as closely to your ideal image of your logo as possible? Or are there people in your community who have the artistic ability to say, that's pretty dope. I think I can help you render that more like the idea that you had initially in your mind. And there are a number of really cool people that might be able to for a small fee or for a shout out on social media or whatever, say I helped this group of kindergartners come up with and actualize their logos that they had in their mind. I'm a super cool person. Buy me a coffee or 2 or 3 or 13 in order to say, hey, how cool I am. So Yep. Doesn't have to be all digital, can be analog and morph itself into digital. I do think that we need to have a scenario where we stop doing things that are simply analog processes. If it starts in analog, it needs to end digitally. That's great. It's analog, but people need to see where the work started and where it ended. Doing things in classrooms solely is a thing of the 1980s, 1990s. We're in 2021. Share your work, even if it's with the classroom down the hall from you, in which you have a digital space. Or one of the cool tools that, like the forgotten, brought back to me because I'm doing middle school now, tools that I use quite a bit when I was a DLC is this one. And so I'll show you very quickly. Vialogs, if you're not familiar with Vialogs, this is through Columbia University. It is super cool because it gives you the ability to create conversations on the web with video that you either upload yourself or you search for on YouTube. Give it, you can talk about the conversation. Hey, this is my logo, whatever. You can make it selective so that only participants who have the emails that you give it access to have it. You can have a kid be the moderator of their own conversation, use my logo or whatever, and create the dialogue. And then you can once you give everyone permission, they can have the conversation around the kid's presentation as they converse about, this is, pernicious pangolins. The reason why I did this is because penguins are my favorite animal. I love gray because it brings out it's an earthy to whatever the devil it is. Give them a script that they have to work off of, and then have kids ask them questions in real time, have them answer those questions. So Vialogs is really, really cool. Again, it's through the University of Columbia, or Columbia University in New York. It's built also into, they have a couple other little tools that Columbia has built. If you're not familiar with Columbia University, they have that Teachers College. It's very famous. So they do build a lot of tools. They have a lot of tools that are education friendly. That's one I used a long time ago when I was at Kit Carson, and when we were still interacting, not Googled all the way. But it's a great tool, especially if you have 3 through 12 students, little kids, perhaps not as much, but older kids are going to be able to upload a video, be able to spawn 2 questions. Yeah, it's a pretty cool tool. It's great as well if you're in the tech industry and you're like, hey, I want to have this conversation where I upload this video of this process and I want people to be able to respond back to it or whatever. Or you're not in the tech industry, you're in a regular job. It's a free tool, doesn't cost anything. It's a pretty dope tool. All right, so Thursday when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit, and that'll be my first day of freedom from school. We'll talk a little bit about student branding and kind of setting up that first module. And I'll actually have the first module already set up for you on Thursday. If you want to acquire it, you may acquire that. It'll already be done with all the videos and stuff on how to do Adobe Spark and whatnot, some questions you might want to ask students, etc. So we have currently, we've got the audiograms inside of our Cartloom. So if you want to purchase that, $20 is yours for the as long as you keep Canvas. Well worth it, in my opinion, because the audiograms are a strategy that you can use over and over and over and over and again for students the entire school year. Webbs, you going to say something?
Yeah, I think it's super important to point out that there is no work you have to do really aside from uploading it to your course. Like all the components and parts and pieces are there. The videos, the instructions, Mike walks your students through, because it's meant to be dropped into a course and used. There's nothing for you as the teacher to learn. You just buy the whole module, download it. There's a video, a link to a video that I made that shows you how to include that module in your course. You can reuse it as many times as you like. And everything is there. It is hey, I want my students to be able to do audiograms as an assessment. Just drop it in and you are good to go. That's all you have to do. So highly recommend it. You can either get it at our website, theintelligenthoodlums.com, and go to the shop tab, or if you go directly to shop.theintelligenthoodlums.com, it'll take you to our Cartloom store.
Yep. And so we're going to be dropping modules like that the entire summer. Here it is. This is not a teacher-centered thing. This is for your student. You just drop it in there. Here's the product I want you to make. You tell them what content they're going to be making off of. I will walk them through the tech parts of it, and you're good to go. Like literally, it's $20. God bless America. You're going to spend that at teacher paid teacher, or whatever it is anyway. But this way, it's built into the Canvas course. It is yours forever and ever and ever. You can use it for as many times as you would like. It is there. All right. So we'll have the student-centered Adobe Spark brand creation hustle on Thursday for you available. All right. Webbs, anything else?
You can also go to buymeacoffee.com/thehoodlums if you like our content.
Big facts, big facts. All right. Let's make it do what it do. We will catch you on Thursday, and then we're off that next week. So every other week we'll be doing the show, not every week. So every other week. Here we go. Hasta la pasta.